Huh? Huh? What? Oh, Geo, good job. That's all him. That's his. He must have just airdropped that into my hand. He's working on the teleportation device. Good on you. Good moderator. Good friend. I know he's keeping at it as a spy in TF2, and you know, it would be him to just drop a perfected Rubik's Cube like that. He probably got this done in like 2 seconds at this rate. He actually did educate me on competitive Rubik's Cube solving, which is really cool. I'm not surprised because in elementary school we learned about, you know, competitive cup stacking. And so it definitely, you know, it just makes sense. And it's cool that, you know, you play to the timer and there's competitions with multiple Rubik's Cubes. So, you know, and of course my question is always about, I wonder if there is a procedure for shuffling, like shuffling up the squares and stuff. Like a judge shuffle. It'd be, you know, it's just fascinating to learn what are the standards, because, you know, in competitive card games, a shuffle is all about, you know, you move the cards enough around, you know, you do a few like riffles, a few clumps in, and that's pretty good. I always advise Pokemon players when we do tournaments that obviously shuffle pretty good. And that's even just for the sake of them, like make sure you know, because you could draw all just Pokemon, you might need energy, you might need trainer sport or stadium, so that kind of standard of like, I wonder how Rubik's Cubes are shuffled. Very fun conversation. We'll be talking to you soon, Geo. Yeah, I love that since the invention of the spiny shell in Mario Kart, starting in Mario Kart 64, there's been this kind of premise of you're racing your friends, and especially back in the day with split screen. Mario Kart DS Online also previewed items, which was really cool. And you saw in the corner of the screen that 4th place Bowser got a spiny shell, and you break, right? And we're talking, you know, it might be the final lap, and you are in 1st place, you break, and someone gets past you, and they might be naive about what's about to potentially happen. It depends on how close you are to the finish line, but many times people on purpose might take that 2nd place. There, you know, you're in 1st. Why don't you keep taking the momentum? But here's an item that purposely goes after the 1st player. Now, to be fair, in Mario Kart 64 and in Super Circuit, the spiny shell would actually rampage through multiple players while targeting 1st place. So it wasn't until Double Dash where they added the wings on the spiny shell to where it only goes after the 1st player. Now, there is an explosion. I think that was kind of try to balance out a little bit, because that would be kind of a little bit of a nerf. That being said, blue shells, well, spiny shells, blue shells, that's its own awesome power up in New Super Mario Bros. But spiny shells, you know, they definitely, before they had wings, they might run into different obstacles on the path. You know, we're thinking of like Wario Stadium and Mario Kart 64, or the Jungle Parkway track in Super Circuit, and there's all these different methods of where the spiny shell might not actually end up hitting the 1st player. Consistently it does, and so there has been this tried and true strategy of, hey, I'm in 1st, but I saw that. Hold on. And then, I'm in 1st, bam, done. And then you take 1st back. It's honestly props to them for long-term planning. And what's fascinating is this isn't just something in Mario Kart. There's something that, you know, in the rules of PvP, in the rules of game state, in the rules of maintaining momentum, being 2nd can often mean that you're taking 1st, right? When being 2nd is its own 1st place. Another example is in poker. If you're the lead with the most chips, you might have the biggest target on your back, you know, from other players. In fact, you could say this about any kind of, you know, survival-based PvP game. Deathmatch, you know, in Metroid Prime Hunters is about getting kills at the end, right? So in Metroid Prime Hunters, you get to 7 kills, you win. Well, there's another mode called Survival, and now it's just, oh, if you lose 7 lives, you're done out of 4 people. In Super Smash Bros., a lot of people love playing with stocks. I love time mode, I love all the game modes, but stock was oftentimes the most popular, not just in competitive, but it was popular amongst like parties and friends getting together. So what would happen is when it's survival based now, and it's last person standing, the person that has the lead, whether it's they have the most lives, whether they have the most chips in poker, naturally there's going to be a big target on their back, to the point that who didn't go to a sleepover and they're like, hey, Pete's in the lead, get him. Yeah. And then everyone's targeting Pete. But then what about, Jonathan, my friend that, yeah, I still have 4 lives left, but Jonathan's at 3 lives at 0%, right? And sometimes, the person in second place can slip by. That whole, yeah, go get him. In philosophy, they talk about how, at the moment that like countries and kingdoms might be going down or breaking down, the ruler might try to give a fool the leadership position. And the leader, just like someone playing Mario Kart, if they're pretty well-rounded socially about like, why is this abruptly happening? Why is Mario breaking so close to the finish line? Why is this, an evil leader suddenly giving me the position here? Oh, finds out the people are about to revolt and take out whoever's in charge. Oh, look, there's a spiny shell, and so there definitely is such a big merit to how second place really can be its own first. And even in academics, I remember growing up, my parents were all big about like, hey, A's and B's, right? Obviously, A's are the highest you can get in a score and the highest you can get in a grade. But I think my parents were super kind in general about the whole like, hey, just A's and B's, do your best. Obviously, if you're going below B's, if you're getting a lot of C's, D's, or an F, that's concerning, especially the F. And so, in middle school, that's where my grades were the most rough. But I do remember my freshman year, after my first day of school, my grades were not doing so well in middle school. So after my first day of freshman year, before my dad dropped me off at home, I was like, hey, Dad, I'd like to make a deal with you. And I was like, at the time, because my grades weren't good, I had such limited time to video games. They said I could only play it on the weekends. And I said, if I get my grades up, can I play video games whenever? My dad's like, yeah. And that kind of form of trust, I really did go up to like a B average throughout high school, like a B, some A's, B's, an occasional C, but around that kind of B plus range. What was it, like 3.3 GPA, a little bit higher than like just strict B, but regardless, they set that standard of A's and B's, and I had a fun time. I enjoyed high school. I enjoyed grade school in general, but I look at my friends I knew and just other students I've heard about where their parents were really strict about all A's. And I'm going to be honest, there were kids that we would laugh at because they would have near like episodic displays of misery. Yeah, let me get my words here, because it's like, hey, am I being too dramatic? No, sometimes they were being a bit dramatic. What? An 89? Now, we never heard them shout that out loud, but yes, there were those students that they would get angry over an 89%. Meanwhile, again, an 89 from my parents and my standard for school is like, oh, cool. It really was, B being the kind of second place grading scale. To me, I was fine with that. And I just noticed that, even in college, I caught up with one of my friends lately, and he told me, after all these years, he said, looking back, he was in like an honors program, and it was one of those things where if you slip into just a few 80%, you might lose that like membership kind of ordeal. And I remember at times he was so unhappy about getting 80s, anything in the 80 range, right? Like on a paper or an exam. Now, it was really rare for him overall to get that, but again, here's me going like, oh, yeah, nice. Okay, I got an 82 on the paper. Okay, so I got this right. Maybe I could do this differently. But to him, it would be like an 82, like, it troubled him for a long time, stuff like that. And that is, the kind of thing you look at where not only was I fine getting the kind of second place grading scale average, but I guess, in terms of like my well-being and happiness, it was like, hey, I know that jobs out there probably aren't looking into much about did you get all straight A's all the time. And it's like, oh, you got your bachelor's. Oh, okay, A's, B's, maybe a C here and there, stuff like that. And it's like, because I understood that ASAP, obviously I tried my best. But if I got a B, I'm fine, And even if I would get an F, right, on an exam, it's all about, okay, pick myself back up, do my best, what can I do differently? And I think the mindset of being able to grasp that second place can honestly be a first is important. You look at Pokemon TCG or Yu-Gi-Oh! Both those games actually have cards designed that benefit players that are behind. In Yu-Gi-Oh's case, there's a card called Chicken Game, and it actually was banned for 8 years. It recently got limited to 1, but for the 8 years it was banned. Before that, I remember when it came out. In a nutshell, Chicken Game is a field spell which affects both players, and to win Yu-Gi-Oh, you have to get your opponent down to 0 life points. And so Chicken Game basically says the player that has the least amount of life points can't take damage. So there are decks like Exodia that, they're after winning the game not by deleting the opponent's life points to 0, but by getting 5 pieces of Exodia. And so that kind of mindset where you can use Chicken Game to say, oh no, I'm behind, but actually I'm going to get first in this next turn if you don't do something because I got this search card unless you can stop it, right? And so that is a more blunt way of showing that being in second actually can be getting the gold. In Pokemon's case, the iconic duo of Twins and Black Belt came out in the Heart Gold Soul Silver era at the end of Gen 4. These supporters said, and to win Pokemon, you got to take 6 prize cards, right? And so Twins said, if you have more prize cards left than your opponent, search your deck for any 2 cards. This was so good that, there was one year I was playing Donphan Machamp Vileplume at Nationals. I remember this was Nationals 2011, and I remember Vance Kelly actually helped me out with the twin strategy. He was like, okay, you tend to run double Oddish for Vileplume, and you're okay with them knocking out 1 Oddish. You bench 2 Oddish, and this is at the time where a Pokemon Catcher, it was a quick item card that let them pull up a benched Pokemon. So I was my older mindset going into this tournament, and before I was playing this deck, I was just like, oh, Oddish has 40 HP, they might be able to just easily pull it up and knock it out. And Vance was like, that's okay. He's like, they pull up 1 Oddish, but then you play Twins, grab Rare Candy, and evolve right into Vileplume because you're behind in prizes. That second place going for a first place win. That's your first place goal. Your main plan A is get out Vileplume, use Donphan and Machamp to just try to do a lot of damage in general. And Black Belt was a fun card too, which says if you're behind in prizes, you do 40 more damage. And Colin Mall, who I honestly think is one of the best Pokemon TCG players, easily, he actually was at a tournament where in 2011, I was playing Iron Champion, which is Legends Awaken Metagross with Machamp with Takeout, and some other fun techs like Machamp Prime. I definitely enjoyed playing that deck throughout that season. And he was playing Regigigas, which is a highly technical deck. It's all about he's a lot like Yoshi in competitive Smash Brothers, where you're basically a stock market running character, where you want to try to have a little bit of a favorable lead, but you're steadily keeping pace, right? It's not about like, oh, blitz the opponent down and just hard rush down over and over to win. It's often oriented around, hey, I have a favorable stock lead, in this case prize cards, or in Smash Brothers, you're a little bit ahead in percent or a life. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to try to maintain this pace. Well, I'm playing Machamp, and Regigigas not only is weakened to fighting, but if the defending Pokemon is basic, which means usually like they're not evolved, they're instantly knocked out by Machamp's first attack. So Machamp is an overall hard matchup for Regigigas. But Colin Mall beat me, and he used Black Belt, being able to do 40 more damage. You attach an Expert Belt, you're able to use Regigigas' Drag Off with Black Belt to do huge damage there. He did so well in his execution of beating me. And then he plays Ryan Green, who also, in my opinion, is one of the best Pokemon TCG players, just from, again, just technical execution, understanding game states. And at the time, Ryan Green was playing Donphan Prime, and I remember Colin beat him. He beat me and then Ryan with 2 fighting type Pokemon, both of us running, again, Machamp and Donphan, both that can do a lot of damage for one fighting energy, back to back. And again, to this day, Ryan will tell you how inspirational Colin is as a player. He went on to make other awesome decks. I loved his Plasma Klinklang deck, and he just consistently was an innovative player. And he further demonstrated that mindset of, when you feel like you're behind, never give up. Keep your composure, which he did a good job at doing. And, being able to utilize all these different things and take advantage that if you're second place, you might find a new win condition by being in second place. There's all these different outlets, not just in PvP, but in life, where you feel like you're down, you feel like you're not at the top of the game, the top of the top. But you can take an advantage that you're not under the big spotlight of first place. In fact, there might be a lot of people gunning for person at first, or there might be people being overconfident in their first place plateau, and you can take advantage that you're pretty close. So the next time you make a move, it might cripple the whole foundation, and then you're looking at yourself being on top because you maintained good composure to hold on to that mountain, keep climbing, and doing your best. I love Mondays.